In a school marked by secrets and abuse, a student finds the courage to face the unimaginable. The sky was covered by dark clouds, announcing the storm that was already brewing. The courtyard of the Keen Girls' School, empty and wet from the recent rain, had become the scene of yet another night of torment for Kimmy. As she walked back from the lab after reviewing her biology notes, she heard footsteps echoing behind her. The unmistakable sound was accompanied by familiar laughter. She knew who it was. Kimmy, always alone, always insignificant, said Adana, as Suri and Binna surrounded her, blocking her exit. Kimmy held her backpack tightly, trying to get past them. "Leave me alone. I didn't do anything to you," he replied in a trembling but determined voice. Adana laughed, a laugh full of disdain. "You don't have to do anything, Kimmy. Just existing is irritating enough." And with a gesture, he pushed Kimmy, who fell to his knees in the mud formed by the rain. As Suri and Binna laughed, Adana continued, "You are weak, and weak people like you have no place here." Kimmy felt the cold water run down her uniform and mix with the earth. Her eyes were fixed on the ground, but something inside her changed at that moment. When she tried to get up, Adana pushed her again, but this time, Kimmy didn't just resist physically. She raised her head and looked into Adana's eyes for the first time without fear. "This will end. You won't do this to me anymore." Adana leaned forward, surprised by the boldness but still arrogant. "And what are you going to do, Kimmy? Tell the director? Good luck. My family practically supports this school." Without saying anything else, Kimmy slowly stood up, her clothes dirty and soaked. He didn't respond to the provocations, but something in his eyes bothered Adana. Even when he turned and walked towards the dormitory, Kimmy didn't turn his head. The storm raging outside seemed to echo the storm now brewing inside. Entering the room, alone, Kimmy closed the door and stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror. The water ran down his face, mixing with silent tears. "He rise," she whispered, with a tone that not even she recognized. That night, the young woman who had always lowered her head decided that silence would no longer be her answer. The next morning, Kimmy felt the stares in the cafeteria. His clean clothes didn't hide the discreet cuts on his face, nor the tiredness in his eyes. She sat in her usual corner, away from the other students, while laughter echoed in the room. Across the table, Amara, the newcomer to the school, watched silently. She wasn't like the other students. She kept her distance from Adana's group and seemed uncomfortable amid the dynamics of the place. Amara knew what had happened the night before. She had seen everything, but had done nothing. At that moment, she decided to get closer. With hesitant steps, he sat down in front of Kimmy. "Can I sit here?" he asked, forcing a smile. Kimmy looked at her suspiciously, but just nodded. "I saw what happened last night," Amara began, her voice low. "Are you well?" Kimmy pursed her lips, fighting back the tears that threatened to return. "I am. It's not like it's the first time." His answer was direct, almost cold. Amara hesitated before continuing. "You shouldn't go through this. They only do this because they know that no one will stand up to them." Kimmy looked up, looking at Amara. "And what do you think I can do? Everyone is afraid of them. Even you." Those words made Amara step back, but only for a moment. "Yes, I was scared, but that doesn't mean it's right. I want to help you." Kimmy laughed humorlessly, shaking her head. "Do you think you can fight Adana and her influential family? They have the entire school in their hands." "Maybe not alone." Amara looked at her firmly. "But together, we can do something." Kimmy's gaze softened, although it still carried doubt. "Why do you care? You barely know me." "Because no one should suffer alone." In that instant, something changed. For the first time, Kimmy felt that she was not completely alone. Despite his reservations, he accepted Amara's help. "All good, but if you're going to help me, you need to know what you're getting into." Amara nodded. "Tell me what you need." From that moment on, an unlikely alliance was formed. While the cafeteria continued to be filled with laughter and whispers, the two began to plan what seemed impossible, facing Adana and her friends. In the empty computer lab room, Kimmy and Amara were together. The tall windows allowed the late afternoon light to shine in, but their expressions reflected seriousness. Among them, there was a notebook turned on, where Kimmy displayed a series of audio recordings and short videos captured with her cell phone. "Did you record all of this?" Amara asked, impressed. "Yes, months of humiliation and abuse. It's all here," Kimmy replied, without looking away from the screen. Amara was silent for a moment, processing the weight of the evidence. "And what are we going to do with it?" Kimmy took a deep breath and stood up, pointing at Zuri's photo on the screen. "We'll start with her. Zuri is the most vulnerable. She wants to show loyalty to Adana, but she has secrets. If we expose enough, she'll be the first to fall." Amara hesitated. "Are you sure? It may be dangerous. More dangerous than continuing to be their target," replied Kimmy, with a firmness that made Amara remain silent. The plan was put into action during the school's weekly board meeting. Kimmy had anonymously sent audio clips that showed Zuri bullying other students and lying about her participation in a school event, while the director, a strict and respected woman, played the audios in her room. Zuri was called to explain herself. I didn't say that. This is a montage." Zuri tried to argue, but her voice was shaking, betraying her nervousness. The director raised an eyebrow, analyzing her with a cold gaze. "So you're saying that these audios, where we clearly hear your voice, are fake?" Zuri remained silent, unable to support the lie. The verdict was swift, immediate expulsion. Her family, shocked by the public shame, cut off all financial support and made it clear that she would no longer be welcome at home until she regained her dignity. Meanwhile, Kimmy and Amara watched from afar, hidden behind a column in the hallway. "That was brutal," Amara muttered, still trying to absorb what had just happened. "Zuri chose this path," Kimmy replied, without remorse. "One fell. Now the other two know they are not safe." The blow had been accurate, and for the first time, Kimmy felt that the balance of power was beginning to shift. Amara, however, looked at her friend with concern, realizing that Kimmy was willing to go to extreme lengths. After Zuri's expulsion, tension between the students grew. Adana, previously unbeatable, now seemed more attentive, like a cornered animal. Even so, her pride prevented her from backing down. She started to watch Kimmy more often, but the young woman stood her ground, supported by Amara. One silent afternoon, Kimmy received game-changing information. Adana planned to meet her boyfriend, something her conservative family would never accept. The meeting would be in a discreet cafe outside the school, but the walls had ears, and the information reached Kimmy through a trusted colleague. "It's risky to mess with her personal life," Kimmy warned Amara when she heard the plan. "This could get out of control." She never hesitated to destroy lives. "It's time for her to feel what it is," Kimmy replied with a cold tone. With Obina's number, Adana's brother, Kimmy sent an anonymous message. "Your sister is about to tarnish the family name. Café Royal, 5 p.m. You must stop this." The clock said exactly 5 p.m. when Obina entered the cafe, furious. He spotted Adana sitting with her boyfriend, who was holding her hand across the table. Without thinking, he advanced on the boy, holding him by the shirt. "Who do you think you are to get involved with my sister?" shouted Obina, attracting the eyes of everyone in the place. Adana stood up, shocked. "Obina, let him go now. You have no right." "Yes, I have," he replied, pushing the boy against the wall. "You embarrass our family with this." The boyfriend tried to react, but Obina was stronger. The confusion escalated, and other cafe customers had to intervene to separate the two. Adana ran away, embarrassed and humiliated. Back at school, Adana faced the curious looks of her classmates and the disapproval of the management, who had been informed of the scandal. Despite keeping up appearances, something in her posture had changed. For the first time, she seemed fragile. Outside, Amara confronted Kimmy. "You used her own brother against her. That was cruel." Kimmy looked at Amara with a firm gaze. It was necessary. She needed to understand that she is not above everyone and everything. Although Kimmy felt the weight of her choices, she knew she was getting closer to her final revenge. Amara, on the other hand, was beginning to question how far they would be willing to go. The days following the Adana scandal were silent. The girl, previously full of arrogance, now walked around the school with her head down, avoiding looks and whispers. Her remaining friends, including Binta, backed away, fearing they would be targeted next. Kimmy watched everything from afar, feeling the satisfaction she so desired, but which was accompanied by something more. That night in the dorm, Amara decided to say what she had been holding back. She closed Kimmy's notebook, interrupting her in the middle of another note. "Enough, Kimmy. It's gone too far." Kimmy looked up, surprised by the firmness in her friend's voice. "What do you mean by that? I achieved what no one believed possible. But at what cost? You have become as ruthless as they are. Is this justice or revenge?" Amara replied, her gaze fixed on Kimmy. There was silence. Kimmy took a deep breath, looking away from the window. "They destroyed me for so long, Amara. And nobody did anything. Not you, not the school, no one. I could no longer remain silent. I understand. And you're right, what they did was horrible. But look what you've become. Was it worth it?" Amara insisted with a softer tone. Kimmy didn't respond right away. Outside, the wind swayed the trees, and the sound of leaves seemed to fill the void between them. "I don't know. Maybe I crossed the line. But for the first time, I don't feel like I'm just a victim. They know they can't step on me again." Amara sighed and sat down next to Kimmy. "I just hope that when this is over, you still recognize yourself." The next morning, Adana and her family removed their belongings from the school. The weight of his dishonor was evident, and the family name, once untouchable, was tarnished. The school, in light of the allegations and evidence, initiated rigorous reforms to prevent further injustices. However, for Kimmy, the victory had a bitter taste. As he watched Adana leave, he felt something unexpected: empathy. She knew the consequences had been devastating, not just for Adana, but for everyone around her. As she walked through the empty courtyard, Kimmy muttered to herself, "Maybe this battle wasn't just theirs. Maybe it was mine too." The sound of the bell announcing the start of classes brought her back to reality. Although the cycle of humiliation was over, she knew that she would forever carry the marks of everything that happened. If you enjoyed this video, please help us grow by subscribing to this humble channel. And if you'd like to watch more videos like this, we prepared the next video especially for you. Click here to watch.